All right, where did I leave off? Did you guys hear the stuff about the fee waiver? Because that was really important.
Yeah, I think that's the last thing we heard was you going over the bullets
Okay.
to check off.
All right, I'm just going to share my screen again. Okay, let's try this again. Refresh, probably kick me out. All right. What's also good about Common App is it saves at you as you go. So it's like a Google Doc. So if something like that does happen, or if you have to stop in the middle, it connects you right back in. It connects you right back in. It saves everything that you've done, so you don't have to go back and do anything. Okay, so again, the fee waiver, make sure you click yes. Make sure you hit these 3 boxes. So you have the SAT waiver, you're enrolled in free and reduced lunch, and that you're a part of Upward Bound, so you don't have to pay anything. And then you just sign. They just want you to sign your name, type it out, and then you hit continue. And then you are done with that section. So if we go back to this section, see how there's check marks next to all the boxes? So that means you're complete once you have all these check boxes, and you can move on to the next one, okay? So the next set of questions, they're gonna ask you stuff about your family. So your parents' marital status. So you'll need to know if they're married, divorced, or separated, or if they were never married at all. They're gonna ask who you live with, and then if you have any children, okay? And then it's gonna ask you specific information on each of your parents. So it's gonna ask you info on your, whoever your first parent is, okay? So is it mom, father? I have limited information. So if you don't have info on one of your parents, that's okay. You just click right here. I have limited information about this parent. It does not hurt you in any way. They're just trying to gauge if you're first generation or not, essentially. It's gonna ask you if your parents are living, what are their names, okay, where were they born? But again, if you notice, these questions don't have that little red star, okay? And if it doesn't have the little red star, you do not have to fill it out, okay? So all this information, it's gonna ask their education level. So it's gonna ask whether or not they've graduated high school, or if they did go to college, and you're gonna answer that question here.
Ms. Geronimo?
Yeah.
I can't see your screen. Like, it just says convert meeting recording.
Oh, okay, hold on, let me reshare it.
Yeah, it was like stuck. I think
it's me, it's not you guys, it's my internet has been acting a little bonkers all morning. I don't know what's going on. So let me see. I'm gonna share it again, and you guys let me know if you can see it or not, okay? Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, so this is what the parent section looks like. So it asks who your parent is it mother, father? If you don't have information on them, that's okay too. It's gonna ask for their name and then their education level. So if your parent did go to college, they're gonna ask where your parent went to college, if that's the case for you. If not, don't worry about it. You just put that either they just graduated from high school or didn't. It doesn't, like I said, they don't really use this information in any way to determine whether or not you get in. They're just trying to get to know you. So even though there isn't the red star next to these questions, and you do not have to answer them if you don't want to, it doesn't hurt either, just to provide a little extra information kind of about where you come from, if that makes sense. So then it'll ask about your second parent, if you have one. And then it's gonna ask about any siblings that you have, and whether or not your siblings are enrolled in college. So it's gonna ask how many siblings you have, their name, are they a brother or sister? And then they do want to know whether or not your sibling is in college. So the reason they ask these questions about the education of your parent or your sibling is sometimes there are scholarships available from the school for students who are first generation, or for students who attend the same college as a sibling. Sometimes they might give you like a little discount if you or your sibling go to college at the same time in the same place. So like I said, even though there isn't the red star next to some of these questions, doesn't hurt to answer them, because it might just give you an opportunity that you don't have, otherwise would have. So once you've completed this section, can you guys still see the screen? Okay.
Yeah.
Once you complete this section, it's going to go to the education section. And this is just going to ask you where you are going to school now. So it's going to ask where your current or most recent secondary high school is. So I put Crosby because that's just where I work. You can, it's going to ask you your date of entry. So that just means when you first started at Crosby, if that was the case. So if you've been there since you were a freshman, you would put the year you were a freshman in this box. So it would be August or September of that year. It's going to ask if it's a boarding school. It's going to be no, I think, for all of you, since you all go to Waterbury schools. And then it's going to ask, did you graduate from this school? All right. And then you will, you can mark yes for this, and then you're going to put your future graduation date. So you'll put June of 2021, okay? And then it's going to ask you just questions about how did you graduate? Did you graduate early? Did you take time off? All that good stuff, okay? And then it's going to ask if you attended any other schools. So if you went to a different school for the first 2 years, they might, they're going to ask you to put that on here. If you've attended more than one school, they're asking how many. So it's just kind of asking what your educational background is. Have you ever taken college credit classes? They're going to ask you to list those out if you have. Okay, it's going to ask you a little bit about your grades. So what your graduating class size is. It's going to ask your GPA. Even though it's asking what your GPA is, they go by what's on your transcript, not necessarily what you put in here. So they're going to take what you put in here and compare it to what's on your transcript. So you want to be as honest as possible. It's going to ask you for what your current schedule is. Okay, so what classes are you taking currently? Give me a minute here. Okay. So how many classes are you taking currently? And what kind of schedule your school? So is it a semester, a trimester, a quarter? So you guys work on the quarters, so every quarter. And then it's going to ask you the title of the class and what kind of class is it, if it's an honors, AP, or just kind of a regular class. It's going to ask you if you've had any honors. So if you want to report any achievement, so if you've won any awards in school or anything like that, this is a section where you would include this, okay? So if you click yes and then continue, it's going to list out, and you can put as many as you want. So what was the name of the title? What grade did you receive it? And was it just at the school? Was it a state thing? Was it national? And that's where you would put all this information, okay? Next, community-based organizations. So it's going to ask you if any community programs or organizations have provided you with free assistance in your application process. If you mark it, you just put the name here, I think. Upward bound is an option here, okay? So you would put 1, you mark upward bound, and then you would put the name of your mentor on here too, okay? And then your future plans are down here at the bottom. And then you would put what your career interest is. Just keep in mind, these are very general. What you want to do may not be on this list. Just click other or undecided if that's you too. If you don't know, that's cool too. And then how far do you plan to go? How many degrees do you want to get is what you would mark here. Okay. Let me see. Is there a question over here? Okay, perfect. So next is going to be the testing section, and this is where you're going to put your SAT scores or any other, if you took the ACT, this is where that would go to. So in addition to sending official scores is required. So even though this is also very important, guys, even if you put your SAT scores here, you still have to have them sent by guidance. You can also do it yourself through College Board, but guidance usually will send your SAT scores for you. So even if they're listed here, they still need to be backed up with like an official document from College Board that guidance will send to the college, okay? And then it just asks you here when you took your SAT, and what your scores were that you took. It asks how many times you take, or I'm sorry, how many scores that you want to report. So if you've taken your SAT more than once, you can report those scores individually. Okay. I don't want you guys to stress too much about the SAT because, you know, with the current kind of environment that we're in, I know a lot of colleges are not stressing the SAT too much. As you saw in one of those colleges, I believe it was Quinnipiac, it's straight out said, like, we're not really looking at SAT scores right now. So don't stress too much about SAT scores. The next tab we have here are activities, okay? And this is if you're really involved in school, like student council and sports, if you have community service hours, this is where you're gonna add all of that information under the activities tab. So it asks you, do you want to report any activities? And you can click yes, all right? And then down here, it's gonna give you a drop-down list of a variety of different activities. And again, there is an other option. So if what you see isn't listed on here, you can click other. It's gonna ask you, you know, what you did in that organization, what the name of it was, and excuse me, what the activity was. So what did you do in that club or sport or whatever it was? And then what grades you actually participated in. Okay, and you can add as many activities as you want. You can add up to 10. I lied. You can only add 10 activities. You also don't want to overload the activities section. When you're adding activities and clubs, make sure you're just mindful about what you're adding. Make sure it's something that's going to add to your application because you don't want to just add every single little thing that you did because colleges recognize that when they see like you overloading it too. So you want to make sure you add the ones that that were meaningful and that you spent a lot of time. So if there's like if you only have one club that you were part of for all 4 years of high school, that says something to people who are looking at your college applications. Okay, so you don't have to have a million activities on there. All it really takes is like one really good thing that you've participated in. And if you don't, that's okay too, because there's other ways for you guys to shine, either with your personal statements or your test scores or your grades. There's other factors, okay? The important thing when, you know, kind of piecing out the application like this is they're looking at everything as a whole. They don't just focus in on one thing, okay? They're looking at all the moving pieces. So once you complete here your activities tab, okay, the next tab is where you put your personal essay or personal statement, okay? So it has just a little statement up here that you understand that it's required, okay? So see, out of the 4 schools that we added, it's required for all 4, okay? It goes a little description. You pick which question that you're answering. So it is the same question for all schools that are on the Common App. So the same set of questions, I should say. So you pick which question you feel you can best answer, okay? Right here they are. And then you can paste or connect to your upload from your Google Drive, your essay right here, okay? What's important when looking at the essay here is that you can only upload up to 650 words, okay? That's not a lot. That's really only about like a page if you're typing it out on a document. So just keep that in mind too. So if you have already started or been working on your personal statement and it's like pages long, you can only upload about a page onto here. So just also keep that in mind. The minimum is 250. So, but I think that's a little less important than the amount. So it doesn't always mean like you have to write this like 5-page personal statement. All right. The next section, it's going to ask about disciplinary history. So if you've ever been in violation, so it lists out here, it could include probation, suspension, removal, dismissal, or expulsion, okay? And here you also want to answer as honestly as possible because again, it does show up in your records. So when you apply, you want to make sure what you're applying here on your Common App matches what's going to show on your transcripts and other school documentation, okay? And they do provide you space for to explain yourself. So if there is an incident or anything in your past, there is a place there for you to explain what happened and, you know, the result of that. And then the last section here, if it loads, is going to ask for any extra information from you. So if you think this one's about COVID, so if you've been impacted by COVID, do you want to share anything on that? And then it'll be an open-ended response, so you can just do a short little response as to what that is. And then they give you space too to share it if you wanted to share anything that isn't already on this application that you think may be important. They give you the space here to put that as well, okay? And that is the last section of the actual application. So once you've completed all of those fields, you're essentially ready to submit. All right, let's see. So once you have a check mark, see, I haven't officially completed, but see how you have the check mark here next to profile and family? When you're ready to submit, you'll have this green check mark next to all of these tabs, okay? So once you have your green check mark next to all of these tabs, you're officially ready to submit, okay? And the way you submit, this could be a little confusing. The way you submit isn't through this section on the Common App. You're gonna go back to your My Colleges tab where our schools are listed, okay? And then under each individual college, you'll see there's a review and submit the Common App. So say you have 5 or 6 colleges here, you just have to go into each individual college, click the review and submit here, and it'll allow you to submit your application for each individual school. But it sends that same information. So all that information that we just went through on the Common App tab is what they will send to each of your schools on this list. It's not gonna let me submit because I didn't complete it, but once it's here, there'll be an option to submit, because you do have to answer these quick little questions for each college. So what your start term is, whether you're in the military, all that good stuff. And then once you're done with these 3 little sections under each college, then you can submit. So see, Central has the 3. If we open up the Quinnipiac tab, they also have the 3. So the questions, the recommenders, and the review and submit. So you just have to complete each of those, and then you are officially ready to submit your college application on Common App. And then once you have submitted, once this loads, on your dashboard here where all your schools are listed out, it will say that you have applied, that it's in process, okay? And what's good too here on your dashboard, it tells you what stage you are in each application. So Central, like you're in progress on everything. So if you've done some of these, that will change. It'll say like complete. So you kind of know where you are in each, for each school. Because remember, see, some of the schools require additional questions than other schools. So you might have to answer a quick open-ended question that another school doesn't require. And here on your dashboard, you can kind of see. So see how Central has a college question here, one required question, but Quinnipiac, if we scroll down, only has one if you're in certain majors in the healthcare field. So each college might have its own little quirk thing that you have to do. But this is what the Common App looks like, all the sections. The one tab I didn't go over is right here. It's the financial aid resources. So in this tab, it just has some info on FAFSA. It has the link to FAFSA, so you guys can go right over there to complete that. And then how to plan for college costs, what financial aid looks like, and it actually links here. So whatever colleges you have added in your Common App, they give you the link to the financial aid pages of those colleges. So see how we have Central, Quinnipiac, UConn, and WestConn are all right here. And then you can explore college scholarship opportunities down here too. So any kind of info basic info you might need about financial aid and your FAFSA can also be found here on your Common App. Okay. So does anyone have any questions about anything we went through? You can drop them in the chat if you don't want to speak up. That's cool too. I know it's a lot of information. I am recording this session, so I'll share it with everybody when we're done. So if you want to go back over something I said, you can do that too. But just, take your time. The Common App shouldn't be something that you rush through. Be very thoughtful, go through it step by step. As you saw, a lot of the deadlines are later in the year. There's no, unless you're planning to apply early decision, there's no, mad rush to complete everything. I usually say a general timeline is try to have them in by the end of the year. If you can't meet that, don't, freak out, don't stress. We'll work with you to, apply when it's right. But again, don't rush